Now is a great time for planting seed potatoes for harvesting in the winter time towards the end of the year for delicious, fresh, new potatoes. Such a wonderful treat and a delicious flavour in the middle of winter. These are mostly first or second earlies, and the reason why they are not all kind of elongated and shriveled up as they would be if I was using potatoes that I'd bought in the spring and just left in a cupboard is because they've been kept in a very cold environment. They've been kept in a kind of suspended animation, and that stopped their growth. And now that they've come out of there, they think it's spring and they're starting to sprout and they're full of growing energy. Now, you do not need to chit your potatoes for Christmas. These have chitted a little bit. That's just because they did in the shop, but you can put them in unchitted too. They'll be absolutely fine. I grow my winter potatoes in containers, either in potato sacks or large pots, or in compost bags that have been turned inside out with extra drainage holes made at the bottom. That is obviously a free way of doing it. My potato sacks I've had for years and years, so long that I actually can't remember where I got them from. So the reason why I use containers is because I'm going to grow these under cover in the polytunnel or in the greenhouse. And this is quite important because there's two problems with potatoes growing on through the summer, autumn and winter. One is the potential of blight, and if they're under cover, they are far less at risk of getting blight. And the other one is frost. So although it's August now and hopefully we won't be thinking about frost for a few months yet, when the frost does come, it kills the potato leaves. So if they're under cover, you get just a bit more time for the potatoes to photosynthesize and grow, which means you'll get a larger crop. Now, some of you may be living in an area where you have really, really late frosts or no frosts, and those could be grown outside in a sheltered area. Just protect them from the rain if you're likely to get blight. So what I do is I put 10 centimetres, 4 inches of peat-free compost at the bottom of my container, put 3 potatoes in, and then fill it up. Now, make sure your container is where you want it to be, unless you're really strong, because once it's full of compost, it's actually just quite heavy to move. So I always make sure this is where they're going to grow until I harvest them in the winter. And then you can fill your container as far as you want to go. They don't need continually earthing up. If you want to do that, you can, but you don't need to. A thrifty tip for growing your seed potatoes for Christmas is to use compost that is spent. So compost that you've grown seeds in or from potted plants that have finished. And I use a mixture of spent compost and fresh compost. You can also use obviously your own homemade compost too. And this is a great growing medium for them. When I do harvest the potatoes in the winter, I will use the compost in that bag to mulch some of the beds here in the garden. These are Charlotte potatoes. I've also got some Maris Pear, Pentland Javelin and Nicola. So I've got 4 different varieties of seed potatoes, which are all going into containers, and I shall very much look forward to harvesting them at the end of the year and into January. I'm often asked if you can use those sprouty potatoes that sometimes lurk at the back of your vegetable basket, and absolutely, there's no reason why you can't use those, assuming that they're not from a blighty crop, because then they'll just go really blighty, and that they're looking healthy. So it's worth giving them a go. As we know from making our own compost, potatoes will grow even from a small bit of potato peel if it feels like it.